Assalamu alaikum,
Assalamu
everybody.
alaikum.
My name is Belal.
I'm Nazima.
We are the Healthy Muslims, and we are here to help you have a healthier Ramadan.
We are the authors of the Healthy Ramadan Guide, and how that started is really realizing the importance of having a more energized Ramadan.
The goal of Ramadan is spirituality, first and foremost, is nearness to Allah. What we want to do is help provide tips and tools on helping you be more efficient in doing so, and inshallah, enjoy your Ramadan a lot more than you have in the past. Inshallah, today we're going to be covering nutrition, Ramadan, having a healthy Ramadan, maybe potentially lose weight, get more energized.
But I think before we even jump into the nutrition, let's talk about why it's important to have a healthy Ramadan.
Why is it important to have a healthy Ramadan?
So I find that a lot of times, as soon as we say the word healthy, it becomes about weight loss. But I think Islamically, there's so much importance about being healthy, and that's something that's often lost.
Yeah, because Ramadan, obviously it's about spirituality. The first and foremost, the goal is to be able to do more ibadah, gain nearness to Allah. But in that process, there's so much that we can do to help us be more energized, more focused, help us with our memory, etc. Like things that we want to make sure that we're doing on an everyday basis that helps us really maximize that time. Ramadan comes and goes so quickly. Every single one of us has been in this situation where in the last 10 days, we're like, and then as soon as Ramadan's done, we're wishing we had done more. So that's ultimately the biggest goal. Obviously, everyone always focuses on weight loss and trying to lose weight because you're fasting. That's actually the easy part. So what we want to do is help you be more energized during Ramadan, and in the process gain all those other stuff along with it, because it is important to lose weight. It is important to be healthy. So we want to make sure that we're providing you with the best of everything.
Yeah, and the intention really goes down to being able to do more, right? So more ibadah, more worship, more community work. And the only way we can do this is if we have more energy. What's really interesting is there's actually so much research about the health benefits of fasting, yet for some reason, after 30 days of fasting, we don't feel the greatest.
Yeah, and actually, after 30 days of fasting, we actually end up gaining weight. Well, not we, but Muslims end up gaining weight. I will attest that we do not gain weight in Ramadan. And it's crazy when you think about it. I think Muslims have done all the research in the world. That's the one thing Muslims have done a really good job. All double-blind, peer-reviewed, etc. Go through the list. Have proven that you can fast for 30 days straight and still gain weight. Muslims have proven that you can fast for 30 days and still gain weight. And the reason why is not because, your metabolism's slowing down. In fact, research shows that your metabolism actually speeds up.
Yeah.
Nazima being a registered dietitian, she can attest to everything I'm saying. You technically should be eating significantly less, but what ends up happening is that the food that we're eating is so dense in calories. It's not because you're eating late at night. It's not because, you're going out and eating at places that might not be home, etc. It's simply because you're just taking in too many calories.
Yeah, the common one I hear is, our body is in starvation mode, so now I'm not burning calories. And that's the thing. So fasting in itself,
Our body doesn't work that way, by the way.
It doesn't. So fasting in itself has health benefits, and the reason why we don't feel great in Ramadan is not because of fasting, right? So people say, "Oh, I'm fasting. That's why I'm low in energy." No, it's not the fasting in itself, but rather what you're doing in the small eating window that we have. And so let's dive into that then.
Yeah. So let's start off with the suhoor.
Okay, so suhoor is that first meal that we have. And it's very important, number one, is to wake up for suhoor and have that meal. So, of course, it is a sunnah. And so this is your last opportunity to energize yourself, right? If you are not having suhoor, you're essentially having a 24-hour fast, right? So we don't want to be going through a longer fast than necessary. And I hear very common, it's like, I don't have an appetite. It's a hard thing to do. You don't want to compromise sleep. You're better off waking up, compromising your sleep, eating, than just sleeping through that. So first and foremost, waking up for suhoor, and then what you eat is just as important. So something like a bowl of cereal or like white toast is probably one of the worst things you can eat, or heavy food, like way too heavy.
Like cereal.
Cereal, right? Yeah, like that's probably one of the worst things.
Like pancakes with like maple syrup drenched on it.
Probably not. And that's why a lot of times people eat the wrong suhoor. So then by the time they wake up, they're like, what's the point? By 8, 9 o'clock, I'm hungry again. I don't feel the best. So rather than having an energy spike and then crash, we want it to be more sustained energy. So we want to focus more on proteins. So it could be your eggs, it could be your Greek yogurt. If you're doing more dinner type foods, which is okay, more, chicken, fish, beef, completely okay. Pair it with more of a complex carb. So this would be something like your, it could be whole grain toast, it could be oatmeal, it could be barley, and then veggies and fruit. So veggies and fruit often get missed, but this is what's going to give you that energy and those nutrients throughout the day as well.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, a question I often get from, especially guys, I'll get this all the time online, like, oh, how do I not lose muscle mass? So remember, there's two ways, that the two important elements when it comes to muscle, right? Preserving or building. It's strength training, so training, working out, but then also protein intake, right? So that's really, really important. So when it comes to your protein intake, suhoor is a very important time. Every single window of eating window becomes very, very crucial, because you don't have a big window, right? When you have an average day, you have the entire day to eat. But in Ramadan, you have a very small window. So it's important for you to make sure you're maximizing that time, especially if, when you want to get stronger, improve your strength, or preserve your muscle, etc. When it comes to working out, then it's important that you're maximizing that window. So suhoor time, protein intake is going to be really, really important.
Yeah, I feel like we're talking about it sounds like we eat like this massive feast. It's not necessarily the case. Like, it doesn't mean we're eating a lot of foods. As long as you get the right foods in, we're good. We did overnight oats, I feel like, for many years, right? So we would have, that was really helpful because we were able to like prep it ahead of time. But I would have my jar, and your jar would have like the extra scoop of protein powder. And then when we switched it up, it could be like a veggie omelet, right? So yours would have that extra cup of egg whites to get enough of that protein, and that would be enough, honestly.
Actually, last year I was doing steak a lot for
suhoor,
and I absolutely love that. I would marinate a whole bunch, put them into the fridge or freezer, take it out, and then, so the only mistake I made is that I noticed cooking it at suhoor time isn't the most fun thing to do.
That was not fun.
So that would kind of set me back. So then what I would do is usually have it cooked before. Yeah, microwave steak isn't the best, but again, suhoor time, cooking at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. in the morning isn't necessarily fun. But yeah, when you can have it fresh, it does make it easier.
I'm a lot more low maintenance. I won't have steak at suhoor.
Yeah. But hey, look, I'm fasting. I know what my calories are at, so add a little butter to that. You can indulge from that aspect, right? Like, instead of going for the desserts and everything else, right? You're actually able to do that. So that, I felt amazing. That felt really great.
So that ends up being suhoor. What's interesting is, as our fasts are kind of moving up earlier in the year, suhoor won't feel like the middle of the night. It actually will be a reasonable time. Take home message, really wake up for suhoor and have that meal. Yeah, and then let's jump into iftar. I feel like suhoor is easy because we're like in our homes, we can make better choices. Iftar is the
unless
more
you're going for some suhoor parties.
Suhoor party,
let those be one-offs. Those are okay one-offs.
But generally, so then iftar is kind of like the next thing that we need to talk about, but that's more challenging because we have social events. Maybe you're inviting people, you're going to the masjid. It does definitely become a lot more challenging. However, it's not impossible, right?
And one thing is really important. I think we want everyone to understand is that Ramadan is a beautiful time, right? It's more communal than it is any other time of the year. And so one thing that's really important is that we don't want you to miss out on that, right? At what other time of the year do you sit down for dinner with the family every single day? That just doesn't happen, right? Even with us, like, even though like our family is relatively young, we have 3 kids, but even then, like, I might be at work, she might have calls, like there's things that might be going on. We try our best to try to have at least one meal in the day together, but things come up. But in Ramadan, every single iftar we're having together. Even if we go to family's house or a friend's house, like, we're still having it in everyone together. That doesn't happen. So that's the beauty in Ramadan, is it brings everyone together. We don't want you to feel like you have to miss out on that. Don't hide at home thinking, oh, no, I'm sorry, I can't have all this stuff and I can't do this and that. So we want to make sure that everyone understands is that don't feel like you have to isolate yourself and that you have to remove yourself from the great parts that Ramadan brings as well, where it's, you have that opportunity to have meals together as a family.
Yeah, I think that's a huge misconception people have, is as soon as we talk about having a healthy Ramadan, they think we're going to be super restrictive. It's going to be miserable. Like, we don't enjoy our food, which is like so far from the truth. And like, we're not going to be able to say yes to social gatherings. I think every single weekend we're with family, right? Extended family, and we're opening our fast. So it's really not about saying no. It's just making slight tweaks.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's jump into it. So the most important take-home message is not just diving right into that iftar meal. Whatever is at your table, you're not just diving in and just eating, right? Because what happens is, as we're getting closer to that iftar time, we are getting hungrier and hungrier, right? Like those smells, all of that. And so if we start eating, the likelihood of us overeating is just so much higher. So that's one thing that we kind of want to break up. One thing from a scientific standpoint, it takes 15 to 20 minutes for your body to actually register that you're getting full, which is why when you're at that actual iftar table, you're not necessarily feeling full, but it's like 20 minutes later where everyone has like a designated spot in their house where they can't move. They've like physically overeaten. And honestly, like if you do that on Eid day where you've indulged, like that's okay. But Ramadan is not the time to overindulge every single night. Like that's not the point of Ramadan, right?
The month of fasting, not the month of feasting, right?
Right.
And it's like important. I think it's one thing going up to Iftar. I think it's like, you just got to keep reminding you, month of fasting, not feasting, month of fasting, not feasting. Just keep saying that over and over again. You might be able to remember it.
Yeah. So a good tip. So if you're at home, this is probably the easiest to do. Generally what I will do is I will have all of our food in the oven. So warm. At the table, we just have dates, water, fruit, and that's what we open our fast with, right? So we will have dates, water, fruit, and we go and pray Maghrib. And that gives about 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then we sit down for that meal. Now, if you're in a social setting, this makes it much more challenging because generally people will have like snack type foods, right? Lots more savory, deep fried foods. So the biggest thing you could do is challenge yourself, challenge your nafs, and just have dates, water. If there's fruit, have fruit. But avoid eating those heavy fried foods immediately, right at that time.
Your challenges will be a lot easier than mine. I live with the samosa police. It's my wife. So it's a lot harder for me to go through that. Mind you, I don't eat any fried food in Ramadan. That's a challenge of mine.
Okay, so one of the things that we do is we set our own personal challenges. Because for us to just be like, hey, we're going to have a healthy Ramadan, like, honestly, let's be real, that's not much of a challenge for us. So we set our own personal challenge. Bilal's is no fried food
in Ramadan. That is by far. Now, my background, Pakistani. Now, anybody who's understands, fried food is like borderline religion when it comes to Ramadan, right? You would think that is a part of the religion. And it is, everything is deep fried. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm surprised we don't deep fry fruits because I'm pretty sure we're close to it. Alhamdulillah, I haven't broken yet. I think there's a few times I've come close. But again, it's just having different options available as well, right? And now, alhamdulillah, all these years later, family understands. So when we go over, like my parents and stuff like that, my mom knows that I'm not going to be eating fried food. So there's different options available, stuff that's baked and other things that are available. So that way, I'm not necessarily left out and I could still partake in everything else. But at home, we have a bunch of different options.
Yeah.
What's your challenge again?
Mine is the no sugar, no dessert. Because it's funny, I'm a dietitian, but I do love dessert. And so for me, that is a challenge. So I do know. And I find when I have that Eid dessert, oh my God, it is the most delicious thing because I haven't had any dessert. Mind you, I don't really eat fried food anyway. I might have like the one or two in the whole.
But you still have it.
The whole of Ramadan. Well, you still have dessert. So.
Yeah, but the thing is, even when I'm having dessert, it's not as often.
Exactly. So I don't have fried foods. You're making it sound like I have. Only if it's like the deep fried, it's the pepper. That's the only one I will have that.
My mouth's watering thinking about that right
now. So that's, and okay, given all of these things that we're talking about, we don't go in social settings and say, we're not going to eat this. Like,
we're never policing anyone else.
No,
right?
These really aren't.
And it's like, you'll have people, they'll be like, oh no, don't look at her. I'm like,
we don't look at other people's plates.
And the thing is, like, it's not, no one likes to hear or listen to someone else tell them what to do. Right.
Yes.
And also, like, you'll have people who are eating less. What's the first thing people make these sarcastic jokes that aren't funny? They're like, oh, what are you dieting? Oh, were you trying to lose weight? Or all you're doing is being counterintuitive to the person. Like you're being counterproductive. You're not helping the person in any capacity. Right. Like no one enjoys hearing that. Right. So we make sure that we go out of our way and be like, oh, alhamdulillah, you guys, we don't want to be the ones showing up. I don't think people invite us any less. I hope so. I don't think so.
Well, I did notice that I never get, like in the neighborhood, you get like drop-offs for iftar. I notice I don't get any drop-offs because it's usually fried foods. The only thing I'll get dropped off is dates. So given iftar itself, if you're at home, focus on the protein, make sure there's veggies. Your protein and carbs are always there with, regardless of what cultural foods you're having, but it's the veggies that are like non-existent, right? Deep fried don't count. So we want to have at least like a salad, roasted veggies or something. And that way you'll be able to have a more balanced plate. Now, one tip is make your plate once, right? So after a long day of fasting, we almost feel like we're
just fill it up as much as you can.
we almost feel like we deserve it, right? And that once again takes away from the essence of Ramadan. So make your plate once. Generally, mine will look closer to like a quarter plate protein, quarter plate carbs, half plate veggies. Belal's might be a little bit more protein, about like a third of each. And just honestly, like when you finish your meal, you should almost have you shouldn't be extremely full already sitting there, right? It reminds you of the hadith, like fill your vessel with 1/3 food, 1/3 water, 1/3 air. You might be thinking, well, how am I supposed to know what is 1/3? It's that feeling of not going all the way to extreme fullness, right? So if you're sitting at the table eating until you're full, you're already exceeded that because you're going to continue to feel full afterwards, like 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later. And essentially what it impacts your ibadah, right? It impacts your prayers at night. The other piece is, so our fasts are going to be much shorter. So that means we may have a lot more evening time. Sometimes I find people do good with iftar, but then it's that evening time comes in, right? So post Tarawih, there's traditions. Some people have like a new dessert every single night, or you may go back, dip into the fried foods, right? So what you eat at nighttime is going to impact your fast the next day. Right? Keep that in mind. Whatever you eat at nighttime, you're going to feel fine, okay, but it's the next day. The next day is when your energy is going to be compromised. You might have headaches. You will feel thirsty, especially if you have a lot of fried foods the night before. So what you eat at nighttime is very, very important. I would still do a snack. So a little bit of protein. It could be something like Greek yogurt and fruits. It could be fruit and nuts. It could be like a smoothie, a protein shake, something small so that it will help you, you feel a bit fuller, but also with your energy the next day. And that's a key. What you eat at nighttime is really going to impact that next day fast.
Yeah. And then like we still have snacks at nighttime, but again, they're healthier ones. Stuff and a lot of those snacks and recipes and stuff we're talking about is in the Healthy Ramadan Guide book that we both co-authored. And the purpose of that book was to be able to help provide, resources and provide everyone with, different options, stuff that still tastes good, but it's nutritional and it's still, is healthy. Right. And that's one thing that's really important is like, you don't have to miss out on snacks. You don't have to miss out on going over to people's houses. Just making the right choices that will then allow you to make sure that you're still having a Ramadan that's communal and so forth. But again, what you're eating, that's what your body is responding with.
We talked a lot about food. I think the one piece we'll wrap up with is the water, the hydration, right? This is another piece that gets missed, is people think because we're fasting, we're not going to be drinking enough water. But this is the thing, you should be able to drink the same amount of water in your fasting day that you would outside. So around 2 liters, depending on the person. But make sure you're planning out your water intake. And that in itself will help with those negative symptoms, right? So those headaches, low energy, dry mouth, all of that. If you're hydrated well in those non-fasting hours, you should be able to get through your fast.
Yeah. And just keeping a water bottle with you, taking one to Tarawih, that's really important as well. Sipping as you go. I personally, I'll have a sufficient amount before, but I try to have more of it after Tarawih because if I have to, usually I'm not a big fan of drinking a lot of water right before I go to bed. But again, in Ramadan, it's different. But I will, because even if I have to use the washroom, it's suhoor time anyways, so I'll be fine if I have to wake up soon after. But also my Tarawih doesn't get as messed up, right? Because I don't want to have to, go and use the washroom during Tarawih and so forth. So I'll still make sure I still get enough, but I'll usually hit around 3 liters, approximately, give or take. But again, iftar time, when my dates, I have a big 750 ml water bottle that I'm going through right away. Yeah. Right. And that also helps fill you up too. So that's important.
Yeah. And honestly, all of these tips, we don't want them to feel overwhelming, but rather something that's going to be, easy for you to start implementing. Ramadan is not a sprint, it's a marathon, right? So every day, all of these habits really add up and will have a more positive impact. To make it easier for all of you guys, we have put together a free guide where we've shared all of these tips. So you guys can get your free guide in the description.
All right. So if you guys have any questions, leave comments, DM us, etc. We'll do our best to answer as much as possible. There's many more episodes to come. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.